Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to finally discuss iOS 17.4, an update that is changing the landscape. Oop, got me excited over here. Changing the landscape of iOS and Apple as we know it, specifically in the EU, with a lot of side loading and the allowance of third-party app stores, app payment systems, and web browsers. Now, for those reasons, I won't get too in-depth about the EU-based changes because I'm not in the EU, I'm in the United States. Just know that those changes are coming for the EU. They are not here with iOS 17.4. It now just takes some time for the developers to adjust to these new settings, allowing the Epic Game Store, allowing the use of GeForce, and if xCloud does come to the platform, you can now download those things separately and into your personal iOS ecosystem in the EU. These changes are not necessarily worldwide or even for the United States. The gaming one's a little interesting because I think GeForce could be something global, not just EU based. Don't hold me to it. But just know those changes are here for the EU. So I did want to address that at the beginning of this video. Now, as we jump into iOS 17.4 that covers the rest of the world, including the EU still. Before we get into that, if you guys haven't already, make sure to ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. It's all free. That way you notice my videos. So you and I can sit back and see what's cracking. Using the iPhone 15 Pro to demonstrate all of the new changes, let's jump in with the first change. And it's something some people have been greeted by, and that is a new hello screen with your personalized profile pic. Now, that might show up if you decide to restart, wipe your phone clean, and start anew, or actually starting a new device. You may see that new hello screen. So that's an interesting change that Apple has included with iOS 17.4. But now let's jump into settings and get into the real nitty gritty. And we're going to go to stolen device protection. This is something that they introduced with iOS 17.3. And this gives you the ability to be able to protect your device from essentially being stolen or protect your data from being stolen. And this is by locking your passcodes down behind delayed responses. Or in other words, now it won't happen here because I have my settings specifically tweaked. But if you come in here to Face ID and passcode, once you put your code in and access everything, you will see as we scroll down, you will see stolen device protection right there. But guess what? Now it has its own separate menu. And in this menu, as you guys can see right here, this allows you to change how the delay actually activates. And so you can either do it to when you're away from familiar locations, or you can do it and set it to always, meaning no matter where you're at, if you want to change your passcode, you get an hour delay. Now, away from familiar locations has its pros and cons. The pro is you are allowed to change your passcode when you're in your own familiar locations, such as home, most likely work, frequented locations. They may be considered familiar, and they will allow you to change your passcode. But the con or the takeaway from that is the very same catch-22, which is if your phone or gets stolen in those situations, in those familiar locations, they will be able to change your passcode. Now, this is all under the assumption that they obtain your passcode to then enter your phone and steal your data or tweak it, whatever it may be. But this delayed protection allows your device to be further protected to give thievers, if you will, thieves, a second thought before trying to steal your iPhone. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront of these updates, in that stolen device protection got some really good updates. Now, while we are here, let's swipe back out. Let's go to privacy and security. Some changes have happened in here as well. Now we have Passkey Access for web browsers. And this is something that is useful when it comes to, of course, your passwords. And it's good to see that they brought this here to the iPhones. Scrolling further down, you see analytics and improvement. The one thing that's not in here is Apple Pay / Apple Wallet. Neither one of those is available any longer. They removed that option. I wonder if they've gotten the data that they've wanted, or they just want to be further secure and not really, encroach upon that kind of data from us users anymore. I did want to bring that to you guys' attention with iOS 17.4. Messages has been revamped in a few different ways. So coming in here to iMessage, iMessage is now updated with PQ3 technologies, which is a quantum level encryption that protects your messages from being stolen and decrypted later with a decryption type of process. So this PQ3 is very, very, very needed for our messages, because depending on how important you are, or just the wrong time of day, someone wants to break into somebody's phone just for the fun of it, this technology, this security further enhances and encrypts our messages, so that way we can continue to interact with our friends and family and coworkers with the ease of protection, and that is by this PQ3 end-to-end encryption technology. Messages for Siri is also here. So if we go back into settings, what we want to do is go into Siri and search. You will see that we have another option in here down at the bottom called Messaging with Siri. Messaging with Siri will allow you to toggle on automatically send messages, and will read back to you messages in over 22 different languages as of right now. Now, also going into messages, Apple also included something new, essentially, which is down here, messages for business. And plain and simple, if you guys can see, get updates on your orders and other transactions if you've chosen to receive them on business websites. So great to see that this is here as well. And of course, if you want to click on privacy to read more about that, you are happy to do so. This is where you can find it. It's within messages, within settings. Battery settings has been completely revamped and reorganized. And so what we're going to do is actually come up here, go into the battery settings. And as you see right here, we have two basically new menus: battery health and charging optimization. So clicking on that first one, battery health, now everything is bundled into here. Before, trying to find your cycle count, your manufacture date, and first use, those pieces of information were not able to be found unless you were in the about section. But very smart on Apple to take this information and actually combine it in the battery settings, so that way you can find everything at a glance without having to shuffle through many different settings for information that you may need. And so as you guys can see here, lets you know your maximum capacity. My phone's still at 100%. Lets you know your battery health is still normal. Cycle count, I've charged the phone, or full cycle charges, around 146 times since I've had the phone, which was basically right upon release. It was manufactured in August 2023, and I first used it in September. So nice to see Apple include this information. And with the iPhone 15 series in general, because Apple has somewhat tweaked their battery tech for the iPhone 15 series, and maybe with the USB-C charging too, we don't 100% know, but the cycle counts have doubled for the iPhone 15 series, meaning that they're good to hold up to 80% charge through 1,000 charge cycles and not 500. And now for me, going 146 in, and I'm still at 100% capacity, which is good because I use optimized charging. This helps charge appropriately and when needed, and does not sit there in full blast charge when it's at 100%, or probably even when it's near 90%. It might trickle charge in those higher percentile charges around 100%. That's the kind of stuff we needed to make sure the battery stays fully normal for as long as possible. So shout out to Apple for also letting us know that battery life has actually improved overall with the iPhone 15 series, and that will probably be the case going forward with other iPhone releases. The App Store. So upon coming into the App Store, before I do, I'm going to show you a splash screen that was introduced to me. Let me find it here. This was the Apple Store new splash screen here, and Apple's being a little slick with it, but as you guys can see, it says a safe and trusted place to discover amazing apps and games, explore timely in-app events, and browse daily stories and recommendations by our editors. The reason why Apple's being slightly slick there is because the EU essentially forced their hand to allow side loading, but Apple wants to make it abundantly clear to their users that you're going to find the safest apps within their app store. And so this is the splash screen you're most likely going to get upon going into the app store. And then when you do go into the app store, there's been some tweaks here as well. What are some of those tweaks? Well, basically the main one is in here, once you click on your profile pic at the top, this is where you come into account. This is where you can refresh to pull and see if there's any apps that need to be updated, and they'll be displayed right down here. But, oh, and also, side note, I didn't realize you can do this in here, but if you swipe to the left, you can actually uninstall the app from your phone just like that. So if you guys didn't know that, you can do that within the App Store in your profile section. Apple separated and made it much easier to find apps that you have downloaded and your purchase history. So now anything you purchase is much easier to find within that tab right there. So it used to be two in one, like apps and purchases or whatever was one complete section, and now they've completely changed that. So good on Apple to continue to find ways to help us find our information in the best way possible, and you see that there with the App Store. Another thing I wanted to showcase to you guys is the fact that there has been a number of new emojis. To be specific, there's like at least over 118 emojis, and this is probably including shaking head emojis. There's a ton of emojis, so it's just come in here and play around. You will find. So you got this head nod right here. As you guys can see, that's a new emoji. You can head nod left or right. So there's the other one right there. So those are at least two that I could show you. And there's some other fruits and vegetables, I believe, as well as some other, I think, accessibility-based emojis. There's a lot of emojis now with the new Unicode that was included with iOS 17.4. Apple Music and a lot of their other apps in general that has the tab at the bottom that says listen now with a specific glyph icon, if you will. That's what it looks like. Shout out to Brandon Butch if that is what it's called, glyph icon. But that has now been changed to home. So by showcasing you guys in Apple Music first, let me find my Apple Music. And if I click on Apple Music, as you see here, shout out to Usher, down here at the bottom, you see you get a home icon and it says home now. That's what it says across basically all of their apps now going forward, is that now that says home with a new icon. Apple also introduces a couple new splash screens for Apple Music, allowing you to see, again, that basically Apple Music has had some changes. And I think if you get a new splash screen for the app, typically that means it was updated in some way, shape, or form. And then here specifically, they show you monthly replay and listen now is now home. So monthly replay is also a new feature that they have within Apple Music. And if we come back in Apple Music and scroll down to, once you click on home and you're at home, you should be able to see a new area in here made for you. And it is called the heavy rotation mix. And what this does is play music that you play often. So basically a song that you have on rotation or that you listen to fairly often will pop up in this mix for you. So that way it curates a much more accurate playlist for you to basically listen to, where you most likely will not skip past music as often. So I think that's a nice playlist option that Apple has added here with Apple Music. And the other thing I like to show you guys is within Shazam or music recognition. So if I press and hold, you see all this music right here. Well, this is your history in here, right? Now you have the ability to add any song that Siri / Shazam will be able to recognize. You can actually add it to an Apple Play music playlist of any sort. So if, let's say we click on this song right here and let it pop up. Nothing is lost by the way. So you can either hit the add to right here, and you can allow it to add to your library that way, or let me see, allow. And then this is going to take you over to here, and the one playlist I have so far is driving music. But of course, that's not what I'm trying to do. So if the other option is click on the settings up at the top, and here you see you can listen to music, you can add to a playlist, you can buy on iTunes, you can do more ways to listen, add to my music, go to artists, or share. And if you click more ways to listen, it'll also give you the option to listen via YouTube Music because I have that downloaded. So Apple has done some pretty decent tweaking to Apple Music to make sure that this is as robust as possible for us to use now with iOS 17.4. And also let's jump into Apple Podcasts. So Apple Podcasts has also had some similar changes. Upon clicking on this, now the now playing bar is a floating now playing bar, which I think is nice. I like that stacked, you know, multi-dimensional look with the now playing bar. As I said, home with the home icon right there. But also, upon opening this up, as you see the icon down here, now we have a transcript button. And upon hitting transcript, it now transcripts the podcast. So let me put the audio down low. Upon listening to stuff, it should go through here. And I think after a while, as you start playing it, yep, the search icon pops up. So let's say I'm listening to Beyond, shout out to PlayStation, well, IGN technically. But let's say I want to look for, what do we want to type in here? Let's type in, what is this about? AAA games. Let's type in Spider-Man and see if they talk about Spider-Man. They do, right there. Spider-Man 2. It's a AAA game by Insomniac Games, Fire game. It's actually coming back out with New Game Plus, I think, in a few days, March 7th. So shout out again to Insomniac for such an amazing game. But you can use the search feature to actually search for it. And they mentioned it over 11 times in this podcast episode, Spider-Man 2. So whatever you're listening to, if you want to jump around and try to find something specific that you're trying to listen to, you can do that right here with transcripts in Apple Podcasts. What an amazing feature. I don't really use transcripts like that. So to me, it is interesting that we do have that option. I'll turn it off for now. But I'm glad that they brought it because, yes, sometimes you don't have time to listen to a full podcast and you just want to jump to the main point, the main subject that you were listening to. Unless they're using chapters within Apple Podcasts, you can use the transcript search option to further enhance your uh, your skippability in Apple Podcasts. Now, in the Files app, let's go in the Files app. Apple has updated the iCloud Drive icon to look more up to date, like the rest of them, more wiry. I think that's good. Gives it more uniformity when it comes to their icons and apps in general. Apple Wallet has also been updated. So if I again come in here, go into Apple Wallet, without showing you guys, Apple Cash right there with the little $0 sign right there, Apple Cash now has the ability to add a virtual number. Yes, you heard it here. You can now add a virtual number with your Apple Cash card to make it even easier to submit payments or to do transactions elsewhere. And I think that is very, very timely. Although, funny enough, I needed this like a week ago, and now they added it. So it's kind of funny that it's finally here. Or I should say 2 weeks ago is when I needed it. And now it's here in iOS 17.4. That is pretty funny. Apple Wallet also now is allowed Apple Cash Card to be accessed when Apple Pay is not allowed. You can use Apple Cash Card now. So I find these to be very, very nice, needed updates. Apple also has verified businesses that will pop up in your phone calls. So whenever you get phone calls, these are all spam calls, by the way. So your caller ID, it will pop up with the business if they are calling you. Great addition, Apple. SharePlay music control is now available for HomePod. Next Gen CarPlay is also available in this update. Now, Next Gen CarPlay is really more so for like higher end vehicles right now. And what you'll notice with that is those type of abilities and capabilities with Next Gen CarPlay will start trickling down slowly to other vehicles. But also the dual instrument cluster capabilities of CarPlay will now use Apple Maps and display the turn-by-turn navigation within the actual instrument cluster area and not just on your radio display with Apple Maps. So I wanted to shout out to that, as well as other various CarPlay tweaks and improvements that will start heading out to vehicles probably this year or whenever the next new vehicle rolls out for, specific companies, OEMs of that nature. Stopwatch has a new, Stopwatch Live Activity was actually removed. And if you don't believe me, let's click here. Let's click on Stopwatch. Should be this one right here. If I hit start and I kick out, now first of all, This shouldn't be playing no more. So let me back out of there. But you see there's no live activity for the stopwatch. I actually have to come back into the clock and stop it and reset. I don't know why they removed the stopwatch live activity. Maybe they need to fix it. Maybe it was rubbing other apps and programs the wrong way. But that is something that has been removed with iOS 17.4, and I hope that it comes back. New city digital clock widget. I'm rocking it right here. As you guys can see, it says Atlanta because I'm in Georgia, so I'm using that as my nearest city. But this widget now turns black. It adopts dark mode and is full black. Now, don't get it confused because you have a regular city clock and you see there's no city mentioned up there. This clock widget does not turn black. I do not know why, for the life of me, that Apple will allow this digital clock to stay white, but then allow this digital clock to react with dark mode. It is super strange. And the same thing can be said with this square clock as well. This clock also, this is the city version because the city version changes with dark mode, but the regular one that I don't have in here does not change, which I don't understand. I'd rather just use the regular digital and the regular square clock. Those should be adopted in dark mode. Why are we being inconsistent there, Apple? Please fix that. We need that fixed, Apple. We need that fixed. FaceTime now has an API that will allow essentially developers to provide the option to turn off and on reactions, so gesture reactions. So if you're doing FaceTime per se, potentially Zoom as well, if you do double thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever, you'll get reactions, confetti, thumbs up, little bubbles pop up, things will rain on you, all that fun jazz, fireworks. Well, now developers can allow that option to be turned off if they wanted to within their app. AirPods, if you connect them to a non-Apple device, as long as they have been connected to your iPhone or Apple device in general, I believe, because I believe it's on the iPad as well. I'll talk about that in the iPad. It will let you know that your AirPods have been connected to another source or to basically another device. And so let's say you got it connected to a Samsung Galaxy device or something like that, a Google Pixel device. It will let you know it is not connected to this phone, it's connected to something else. So I like that notification from AirPods. No more notification bug. So if I swipe down, I can only swipe down so much, but no more notification bug. I didn't have as bad of a time with the notification bug as other people have, but I'm glad that they did still fix that because we want smooth fluidity experiences with iOS. We don't need no jittery bugs on official software. That's a no-no that I'm glad that they fixed. And side note, Apple had dropped new silicone cases for the iPhone 15 series, but no new fine roving cases, which lets us know that fine roving was probably a bad idea because there's probably significant issues. I have not heard a lot of people have pleasant experiences with fine roving. I would like to get it just to try it, but I do kind of know I'll be wasting my money and it would be a video for y'all if I did get fine woven cases. But there are new silicone cases for the iPhone 15 series. And that wraps up all of the iOS 17.4 features. We talked about CarPlay 2.0 or next gen CarPlay. We talked about the EU updates. We talked about all the plethora of new features and additions, tweaks, overhauls, revamps that iOS 17.4 provides. So let me know down in the comment section below if you've updated yet. What is something that you're looking forward to be updated, or things that you would like to see come back? The comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure to ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. It's all free. That way you never miss my video, so you and I can sit back, chat, see what's cracking. But your man Micah signing out. Until the next video, wait for